Mm. Ah. Woo. Hey y'all, it's me, Jeff, once again with Surviving Divorce, and thank you so much for tuning in today to this channel, which is the best channel on YouTube that talks about surviving divorce. And what are we going to talk about today? Well, we're not going to talk about surviving divorce, unfortunately, but we are going to talk about something related to it because, you might ask, well, okay, surviving divorce is surviving divorce. Well, when do you know that you've survived divorce? I mean, isn't every day the next day you actually technically survived divorce because you've made it the next day? Well, true, but that just means you're dealing with divorce. But I'm talking about actually having survived it mentally, physically, emotionally, whatnot. And today we're going to talk about what that looks like. So, how you know that you have survived divorce. Now, it's going to be different for everyone, but I guarantee you that everyone who has survived divorce, if you talk to people who have gone through divorce and have really gone through it and survived it, there are going to be several things that are in common with all of them. And I'm going to talk about one specifically today, and then I'm going to reference one that we talked about previously. Now, on an original episode, maybe about 2 weeks ago, I talked about, it was an episode that was called "Oh Shit, It's Coming." And basically, that episode is about, well, you know what, you can look at it, let's see, a link is here, a link is there, a link is there, it's somewhere, but I'll leave the link in the comments section. But basically, it just talks about that there will come a time when someone will ask you, how long have you been divorced? And you'll be like, oh shit. And you'll have to do a mental calculation in your mind to remember when you got divorced. And that's because it's no longer in the forefront of your mind. And so that's one way of knowing that you have survived divorce, because it no longer occupies the front of your mind. It's an afterthought. Another way, and this is something that you don't hear people talk about a lot, but we are going to talk about it today so you can look forward to it. And if you are at this spot, then you know that you have survived divorce, but it doesn't mean you get to leave this channel, because we need you to continue to grow this channel and to continue to make it the best channel that talks about surviving divorce. And now, if you're new here, please like, subscribe, comment, ring the bell so you'll know when I post more content, and come along with us on this journey as we survive divorce. Now, what I'm talking about is something that we teach kids from, as soon as they can say words, we teach them this concept. Say you are sorry. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And that's actually how you know that you have, one of the ways in which you know that you have survived divorce is the ability to say you are sorry. You'll be like, what the hell are you talking about? My wife cheated on me. My husband cheated on me. My ex stole from me. My blah, blah, blah. They beat me. They did this, blah, blah, blah. They did all of that. I got it. What I'm just saying is that the ability to say sorry is one of the hallmarks that you know that emotionally and mentally you have gone through the wormhole, that you have survived divorce. And the reason why I say that is that both partners, we all have a hand in the breakup of the marriage. Some may be bigger than others, but we all have a part. And how do I know that? Well, I know that a lot of ways. First, it's obvious, right? We're human. And to be human is to be flawed. To be human is to be imperfect. So from the very start, a marriage is a union of two imperfect people. And no one, or no union or coming together of two imperfect beings is going to be a perfect situation. It's just impossible. So the ability to say sorry actually is more of a reflection of understanding and realizing that in the marriage I wasn't perfect. Doesn't give you an excuse for what you might have done wrong to me or what I did wrong to you, but it's just an acknowledgement that I'm not perfect. And it's very important, especially in today's day and age. You know, I'm not going to get into politics, but we had a person in the Oval Office, and some people liked him, some people didn't like him. But one word that became really popular with his presidency was the word narcissistic. And technically, narcissistic, or being a narcissist, that is a diagnosis. It's a medical diagnosis made by a psychologist or a psychiatrist, someone who is trained in blah, 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 identifying all the characteristics of narcissism. But we see people with certain characteristics and we say that they're narcissists. They only think about themselves, they think that they're the only ones right, blah, 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 blah. But the offshoot of that is I hear in a lot of the chat rooms and a lot of the groups from females and even from men saying about their partners is that my partner was a narcissist. I divorced them, they were a narcissist. They only thought about themselves, blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. Well, when you really think about it, both people in a divorce or in a relationship are narcissistic. Well, let's not say narcissistic because that's a medical diagnosis, but they have narcissistic tendencies. So if you are one of the partners who thinks that the other person is the only one who did something wrong and that you were perfectly, you didn't do anything wrong, that you were perfect in the relationship, well, those are narcissistic tendencies. If you can only look and focus on what that person did wrong and not any hand that you played in it, then you're basically saying that you're perfect. And that is a narcissistic tendency. So all these women who go around saying, oh, my spouse is this and this, he's a narcissist. Well, actually, you're a narcissist because all you keep doing is pointing out his faults. And by only pointing out his faults and never shining light on what you did wrong to other people, that's a narcissistic tendency. You're deflecting blame from yourself onto someone else. But the point is the ability to say sorry is just the ability to realize, you know what? I didn't have clean hands. There were some things I could have done better. And what does that show? That shows growth. That shows maturity. That shows that you are actually moving beyond, the point of you need to blame someone else for the failures in your life, because marriage can be looked at as a failure. I don't look at it as a failure. I look at it as a great do-over, chance to have a great do-over, but it didn't work out, right? And so the fact that you can't say that you're sorry means you haven't grown emotionally. You haven't grown mentally. And you need to get to that point before you can be a better spouse or a better person in a relationship, a better half to someone else. You have to get over that. And so the best way to explain it is not to use my examples. I'll just use an example for someone else. And I have a friend, and she said that I could use this example because we were talking about this. And this is when I told her I was going to do this episode, and she made this remark, and I thought it was a brilliant remark. Asked her, can I use it? And she said, absolutely. So let me see, I pull it up here, and so let's see, here we go. It says, this is what she said to me regarding saying sorry. My late husband actually cheated on me, and I took him back because I realized that all I was doing was talking about kids, and bills, and soccer practices, and house repairs, etc. Then someone comes along and says, you're so handsome, you're so funny, you make me laugh, blah, 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 blah. What do you expect? Of course that's going to look better. So I apologize for forgetting how to be a girlfriend when I became a wife. Now, unfortunately, in this situation, she took him back, but he passed away. So she's not going through a divorce. She's actually a widower. But it still applies in what she was, and it's a beautiful thing what she was saying, is that we tend to look at what the other person did and not what the hand that we had in it. Until you can sit back objectively and look at the entire situation and realize that, you know what, if she left me for someone else, was it because I stopped telling her she was beautiful? Was it because I stopped telling her that, she was the love of my life? Was it because I stopped bringing her flowers? I stopped bringing her cards? Huh? Was I always complaining about her, always saying what she couldn't do right instead of what she was doing right? See, those are the things that we have to think about. Those are the things, the little details that escape our mind and make us want to think, oh, that bitch left me for someone else. Well, just like in this situation, what do you expect if she comes home every day and if she don't cook well, you don't keep the house clean, you're not good at this, you're not good at that, you never reaffirm to her how beautiful she is, what she means to you, and then she goes to work or she goes out to soccer practice or she goes someplace and someone looks at her and it's like, oh my goodness, you are beautiful. If I was your man, I would tell you every single day how much I appreciate you, right? I'll bring you flowers. I will cook you dinner. I will do whatever I can to make life good for you, better for you, easier for you. I will help you here and there. All those things, right? And after a while, yeah, so in this situation, this woman, she realized what she was doing that she could have done better. And she apologized for it. And it does not excuse what her ex or her husband, who's now departed, did. It does not excuse that. But what it does is it shows maturity. And that makes her a better person, a better candidate to be with the next person that she finds, the next love of her life or whatnot. And that's where we're trying to get, right? We are trying to make ourselves a better version of us. I want to be better for the next person. Forget the next person. I want to be better for myself, right? And then I want to be better for the next person than I was for my ex. Doesn't mean I was, a bad person. It just means I can do better. And that's what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to create a better version of ourselves because that's all what we want in life, right? We all want better. Grew up in the slums, want to live someplace better, right? Grew up in the hills, want to live someplace better. Grew up rich, still want to get better, right? That's all what life's about, right? You had a sucky job here, you want a better job. You had a good education here, you want a better education. We all want better. And one of the best ways for us as men and as women, as human beings in getting better is the ability to sit back and say, you know what, I'm sorry. Now, for some, that might come, years, months, I doubt weeks, but it's going to take some time. But when you get there, you'll know you've survived divorce and you've come through the other side. Now I'll give you an example for myself and kind of how this works, because you'd be like, well, you know what, I don't want to see that bitch ever again. I don't want to, you know what? Eventually, how life works is that you are going to come in contact with your ex somehow, some fashion. And what you do when you come in contact with them, you can say you're sorry. And you know what? You've grown. So I got my second marriage. So I've been divorced twice. My first marriage ended, and I was probably about 25. I just finished flight school. I was pilot in the Army, and I went on with my career and had a lovely career in the Army. Got out, got a job, was a pharmaceutical sales rep for a couple years. Then that went to law school and became a lawyer. And then, so now we're talking about a good 10 years after, my first divorce. Come back home, I'm visiting, I go to a church that I, spent a lot of my, teen years and adult years, early adult years in, and where I met, my first wife. And just so happens, she was there at church service. I didn't know she was going to be there. I had lost track of her. Didn't know what she was doing with her life. And you know what I did? Walked up to her and I said that I was sorry. That's it. Just said that I was sorry and I apologized for all the grief and blah 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 that I did. Wasn't expecting her to say anything to me, but I just said I was sorry. And I think at the time that I saw her, I was in a relationship with someone that that I met at law school. So I was in a relationship. But the reason why I said that I was sorry is because I had had 10 years of time to reflect, to look at the big picture, and to realize that a couple of things. Divorce was the best thing that ever happened to me. If I had still been married, there is no chance that I would be a lawyer. There's no chance. I mean, I always say no chance. The probability of being a lawyer are probably slim and none, right? I probably wouldn't have seen all the fantastic places that I visited without her. Japan, Iceland, Sweden, Norway. Just some great places in the world. There's no chances I would have the education, have great opportunities to work in different companies, and had a great career, in the military as a pilot. So that was one thing, realizing that, divorce didn't ruin my life. But the other thing also, too, it was maturity. Is that I also had a time during that stretch to realize that there was a lot of shit that I did wrong. Argumentative, complained a lot, didn't take her feelings into consideration, didn't check in with her enough, wasn't emotionally connected enough. There's just a lot of things that I did that I could have done better, that I fixed, that made me a better partner for the person that I was with. So it was a sorry for, at the time, I wasn't emotionally or mentally mature enough to be a good husband. And so a lot of the arguments and a lot of the stuff, my fault. And I'm big enough, I'm man enough to say, yeah, that was me. I'm sorry for that. So, and then the last thing, is just emotional intelligence, emotional growth. When I got married at 25, I was emotionally immature. And anyone who tells you if they get married, especially if they get married at a young age, that they are emotionally mature, that they are a full-grown, realized adult, is bullshit. We all have spaces where we can grow. We all have places where we can improve, especially at 25. You get married in your 20s. Men mature slower than women. We haven't even hit our prime yet in life, in our careers. And so, yeah, I probably, most likely, thought my shit didn't stink at that age, but it did. So now, 10 years later at 35, I can look back at that 25-year-old guy and realize, shit, man, there were some things that you could have done differently. You could have responded differently. You could have carried on differently. And so that, now I'm 35 and I'm a man and I still got a place to go, but I'm even a more man than I was at 25. And then I can say, you know what? Fuck that. I'm big enough. I'm sorry. I was wrong. There was some shit that I should have done better, right? So that's it, guys. Think about it, right? If you want to sit back and have a pity party about, she did you wrong, she left you, and life sucks now, you got to pay child support, you got to pay spousal support, you had to sell the home, and you want to have a pity party, fuck it, go at it if you want to. But if you want to be a real man, and you want to show real growth in yourself in life, and you want to be better than you were before, and be great or even better for the next person that you meet, do the homework, right? Get some help. Grow emotionally. grow spiritually, grow mentally, right? Don't always just point the finger, point the finger, point the finger, point the finger. Because I always say, you point that finger, one finger at someone, you got 1, 2, 3 pointing right back at you. All right? Don't be a narcissist. No, don't have narcissistic tendencies. Realize that there are some things that you've done wrong and that you need to say sorry. You're not only sorry to your ex, but if you have children, you need to apologize to your children for anything that you might have done that they saw that was unbecoming, that you don't want them to carry on into their adulthood and their adult lives. Sure, you have to ask yourself, especially if you have a daughter, would you want your daughter to put up with some of the shit that you did to your ex? Anyway, when you get to the point that you can look at yourself objectively and look at what happened in the marriage objectively and say sorry for the things, the immaturity, the things, the short-sightedness and the stuff that you didn't do, then you know you've survived divorce. You've made it through the wormhole. You've made it through the other side. And that's all what we're trying to do, one day at a time. All right. Whatever you do, however you do it, celebrate life. I'll see you in the next episode.